Hello. Hi. I didn't just do an intro while muted for everyone to not hear, or I guess you could see, you couldn't hear. But round two, here we go. We're talking about delays today. It's the Just Gaming Tingz podcast. Welcome on in. We have Dex. Hi.
Hi.
And we also have Spin. Hello.
Hi.
I'm not defeated at all by that technical difficulty. We're just keeping on moving. It's great. We love what we do here on the Just Gaming Tingz podcast, episode 73. Welcome on in. Yeah, let's talk about the D word. Let's talk about delays. Because we actually didn't. I think Koga briefly mentioned the Breath of the Wild delays. And how, Elden Ring was going to be the game of the year because Breath of the Wild isn't coming out this year. And because we really don't have anything else better to talk about today, we're going to talk about delays. So, what is your initial reaction whenever you scroll through your timeline? As you do, you see some thirst posts, you see some K-pop, you see some art, and then all of a sudden, a game you were looking forward to got delayed. What is usually your initial reaction to that?
The
It's
release
usually
date should have
kind
been
of like
later.
yeah. Usually kind of like you know?
Just two different okay. The kombucha girl of it all. Just okay. I had to make sounds so that it would be understandable in the audio version. But y'all know the kombucha girl at this point. You should. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like my initial thought, and it might be unfair, but my initial thought is always like, well, someone didn't do their management job properly, and someone underestimated their release window. But that is kind of unfair these days because I guess because of COVID, there really shouldn't be any release dates ever. Like you just announce a game and you're like, it's coming out.
It's coming sometime.
Like the video just cuts out, you know what I mean? That's camp. That would be iconic.
Actually,
And we
I
now
love that.
unveil the release date. It's coming out and the video just just breaks up. I love that. I would love that. Someone do that.
Just all of Twitter just shits their pants collectively. Like,
Did your stream go down? Mine went down too.
Yes. I would love that.
I would kind of live. Like, I would kind of live.
Right? Absolutely. Well, we actually should also give credit to our wonderful co-host Koga Jangles for helping us come up with this topic because we were like, what the fuck are we going to talk about? And Koga was like, well, talk about the D word. And so here we are.
It's like, I have a great idea. Here, take it.
Truly.
Thank you, Koga.
Thank you, Koga. Thank you so much. Well, okay, so have you been personally affected, attacked, and hurt by a video game delay that you were very much looking forward to and may still be delayed right now, who knows? Or you went through it a lot because of how many delays it had. I can go first here because I'm a Square Enix fan. And that's my sentence. No. You should know by now at all. If you're listening to a video game podcast, you should know this. If you're a Square Enix fan, we love Square Enix, but we also suffer through a lot of delays because they love to announce things early. And so back in the day, before when Final Fantasy 13 was announced, Square Enix had this whole plan to do I guess kind of like not a cinematic universe, but like they were gonna do like 3 whole games in that same kind of like universe. Kind of like 3 different stories in the same kind of like timeline or the same universe, whatever. And one of them turned out to be Final Fantasy 13. And then Final Fantasy 13 actually sold really well. Didn't necessarily get the best reviews, but sold really well. So they essentially ignored the other two games in favor of doing a 13-2 game and then Lightning Returns. So those two games ended up becoming, all of them were supposed to be, I think, console games, like AAA, big old releases, a whole thing. One of them turned into a PSP game, which then later turned into, you know, a game that's now on PC and other platforms called Final Fantasy Type 0. And the other became Final Fantasy 15. So this is, again, before 13 came out, Final Fantasy 15 was announced. Obviously, at the time, nobody knew it was going to be 15, but it was one of the more interesting. All three of those games, actually, when they got announced, they got very big reactions online, and people were very curious about them. People couldn't wait. And then Final Fantasy 15 suffered so much development hell that, to be honest, when it came out, I was like, it could have been delayed again. Like, it should have been delayed again. Because a lot of like the DLC stuff that we ended up getting from it was like, okay, if they had this extra year to work on it, this probably would have been a more complete game and it would have been more fulfilling as a game. But alas, they already had gone through a lot of hell in development. So honestly, at that point, even the fans were like, listen, we're just happy it's out. Like, it's finally out. It may not be the best, but it's out. And funny enough, I suffered a similar battle with Kingdom Hearts 3, in fact. But I will say, I know that, you know, technically between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, there was a big pause, a big hiatus, if you will. But people act as if no games were released in between. And so, like, I get it. Like, I didn't have a 3DS or a DS or whatever all those games came out in. I had a PSP, so I did play Birth by Sleep. But they did eventually release collections on PS3 and then PS4. So, like, you had games to play that you may had not played when you were a kid to kind of fill you up on the story from between, like, even Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. A lot of people didn't play Chain of Memories. And obviously between 2 and 3, there was also a lot. And I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to also suffer a lot now waiting for Kingdom Hearts 4 because they announced it, I think, way too early once again. So Square Enix not learning from their mistakes since insert date here.
Wasn't Kingdom Hearts 3 like legitimately like actually delayed at one point too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I think it wasn't. It was kind of like Final Fantasy VII Remake where it wasn't like that big of a delay. It was like, instead of being like maybe,
it was like a month or two. I think it was 2 months, right? It was supposed to be January, and then it came out in March, I think.
Something like that. Or like it was supposed to be like late. No, I think it was supposed to be late 20 whatever, like the year before, and then it came out in January, I think. It was like something like that.
Yeah. It was like a couple months. That's all I remember.
Yeah, for sure. So like, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal, but obviously the game had been in development for a very, very, very long time. So, you know, at that point also it's like, oh, it's a couple months, whatever. Like, I've waited years. as long as it comes out, girl, I don't care. But yeah, what have y'all's struggles been like with delays and big waiting windows between games and stuff?
I have a couple that I can think of. Like, usually I'm not the kind of person that like gets games on release day usually, and like, so delays don't usually affect me that much. But I know I'm gonna go on a Little Big Planet rant later.
Oh yeah,
so sneak
we'll get there.
Sneak peeks for later in the episode. But that got me thinking about Little Big Planet Hub. Because Little Big Planet Hub was a game that was announced. There was like one announcement trailer for it, and then it just it just like didn't exist. It was just like it's just
scary.
Like, you didn't see anything. we didn't announce Little Big Planet Hub, and the Little Big Planet fan base is like, yeah, you did.
I
What's
hate
happening with
that.
Little Big Planet Hub? And like Sony was
Crickets.
just like, la, 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 la. Like,
Oh no. What
but
was
it was
Little Big
basically
Planet
like,
Hub supposed to be?
from that one trailer that they released, it kind of seemed like Miiverse almost, like a Sony like answer to that, because like you could like dress up your Sackboy, hang out with other Sackboys, and like play levels. It was very like Little Big Planet was very community focused, but felt like it was going to be especially like community focused. Um, just like a hub world where you can like dress up and decorate things and hang out with other people, and it looked like it was gonna be really cool. But then we were all just like collectively like lied to.
Oh no. Honestly, that should be
And
a whole episode of its own, like lost games, canceled games, like that. We should do it
we
sometime.
should, yeah, actually that would be a good episode. Like games that just disappeared and never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, we could do a whole episode on that. But another one that I don't know if it necessarily officially got delayed, but it was a weird situation with Boyfriend Dungeon, because I know like Boyfriend Dungeon was announced like years and years and years ago, and then like they never really had like a release date on the Steam. Like it, I remember like on the Steam page they just said release date. The release date was when the weapons are pretty enough, I think.
Okay.
And I remember like looking at that and being like, okay, I can respect that. Like take your time. And then like it felt like it released like after the hype died, and then when it released, like there was all the backlash, and it was just like, ooh, maybe that could even been a game that like maybe should have been released earlier, because like I remember there being like quite a lot of hype for it, like when it was first announced, and like when it was like in like the couple years following that, and then like when it actually did release, like people like felt lied to by the game, because like it was this game they were looking forward to for so long, and then there was this like critical like story element that like nobody had ever told the like prospective fan base about, that just kind of came out of nowhere, and that was just like a really weird situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In that case, though, like I almost wonder if they would have benefited from the game being delayed even more, to like give it another like PR like refresh, and potentially, you know, having someone consult and maybe have an option to opt out of that story, or like maybe even, you
I
know,
just think
almost
like
like warn people or something. I don't know.
yeah, like it could have been featured in the game's marketing that that was what the game was going to be about. Because like I definitely like I don't think I understand like the people who are like, are you going to opt out of the main antagonist of the game? But like it would be like if you like released, if like we didn't know anything about Breath of the Wild 2, and then if it was like the first Legend of Zelda game, and then you didn't like Ganon wasn't in any of the trailers, and you didn't tell anybody about Ganon, like
Mm-hmm.
you know, like if you advertise the game as like, oh, you're just gonna get to explore like a peaceful world and like have fun and
And like not show any of like the combat, or like
yeah, like this is a like a gardening sim where you
Mm-hmm.
where you like cook and grow vegetables, and then like you play the game and it's like you're actually like not doing that for most of the game.
Right. Well,
Yeah, that was a situation. Truly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tex, do you have any personal stories of suffering and hurt and drama from delays?
On a short little one, obviously Kingdom Hearts 3, but then I played it and I didn't care. So I hated it overall. So I was just like, you know what? It could have been delayed forever. But going on to like an actual like time something is delayed, I'm actually going through that now because technically Saints Row, the reboot, was actually delayed.
Yeah.
But I felt like my thing with it was that I feel like games should be at least having, like, when they have it announced, have like a year or two before it comes out. Because it was announced at like what, E3 last year in August or whatever. And then they were like, oh, it's coming out in February, which is 6 months away. So I was like, that's early. So then when they announced that it was delayed like to the following August, I was like, I wasn't angry. I was just like, that makes sense. I don't know why they anticipated it to be such an early release date when they only announced it like last E3. Because like, I feel like if you have a lot to show, then like it would make sense if it was like a really quick release date and they just didn't want to like advertise it for too long. Like they wanted to build up the hype and then be like, okay, it's coming in like 2 seconds. But they didn't even really show any like full on gameplay, and then they had like a gameplay trailer when they announced it at E3, and like they didn't really they still didn't show any actual gameplay. It was just like more dynamic shots, but like not what you would see in like a regular playthrough of a game. So I was like, I don't know what they're doing. So then it like rolled around later in the year, and they're like, oh, we're delaying it from February to August. I was like, that makes sense. Like that's what it should have did. But a game that should have been delayed, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, for sure.
I know we both have some spicy opinions on that.
Right.
Yeah, let's get into that because I already talked a little bit about Final Fantasy 15. It's personally a game that I thought should have been delayed. I think personally they were probably at a point where they just needed to make money off of like pre-orders and stuff like that to even finish the game, and then finish the game, quotation marks, and then whatever money they got from the sales of the game, they did that for the DLC to actually finish the game properly. And even still, whatever. So that for me would be one that I would say should have been delayed or could have been delayed. I don't think a delay could have fixed Kingdom Hearts 3, to be honest, because I feel like at that point, honestly, they just needed Kingdom Hearts 3 to not be good story-wise, to hopefully have some sort of closure to all the bullshit that they, all the loose ends, all the drama, all the shenanigans that they, got themselves into. And then hopefully this is going to be kind of like a new chapter, and hopefully we can move on from, whatever happened in Kingdom Hearts 3. So yeah, those two would be the ones that I would mention for me, because I can't really think of others that off the top of my head. Honestly, probably a lot of Sonic games could have used more development time. A lot of the 3D ones. Probably, just a couple of them.
just a few.
Yeah, just a little bit. Which I'm glad that they seem to be taking time with the new one. They seem to be very vague about, when it's coming out or whatever. So like, just take your time. I'll wait. It's okay. As long as it's good, and I have Amy somewhere in there to look forward to. But yeah, I know that both of you have a lot of juicy commentary on games that should have been delayed.
One of the biggest letdowns in my life as a gamer was Little Big Planet 3. Let me tell you a story of the trauma that I experienced. Okay. The thing is, if if you don't know about Little Big Planet, Little Big Planet 3 is probably the reason why you don't know about Little Big Planet, because it was a hugely successful franchise for the PS3. Little Big Planet 1 and 2, both great. The thing about Little Big Planet 1 and 2 is the community was like so much deeper than the story modes of the games itself. Because you could create your own levels, and like all the levels that were in game were made with the level creation tools, and there was like this huge community of people just constantly like pumping out levels. There was always new stuff to play. Little Big Planet 3.
Oh no.
Little Big Planet 3 was one of the rare games that like I bought on a release day. Like, and honestly, like looking back now, like knowing what I know, it was a cross-generation launch. Like it was launched on PS3 and PS4, and I know that a lot of those like tend to have problems, so I probably should have expected some issues, but I got it on the PS3 version because I didn't have a PS4 yet at the time. And I brought it home, and it was a buggy mess, unplayable, game-breaking glitches,
No.
couldn't go online. And then I was like, oh, I must have just got the shitty version because maybe the PS4 version is better. And then I looked online and saw a bunch of people PS4 version with PS4 version, same issues, buggy mess, even more game-breaking glitches. Like no, like the online was like so shitty. Like you could not connect to like another player, and like that was the thing about Little Big Planet, is it thrived on its community, and like the game is really like a game that is best enjoyed with others. And I tried like logging in. I remember because like I had a friend that also played Little Big Planet at the time, and I tried logging in to play with them, and it just like did not work. Or like PlayStations both crashed like several times during the process. Like it was
My god.
it was a nightmare. And then like going into more research on like what happened to this game, basically they handed off the production to another studio, because like Media Molecule was the studio that made the first two games, and then they handed off the third game to Sumo Digital, and they basically rushed this game so that they could release it for holiday season, either 2013 or 2014. I don't remember exactly the year. It really could have, like, even if it had been delayed to like next holiday season, that would have been better, because like even if it was like just a PS4 release, and like they didn't have to focus, like split their focus on making two different versions of the game and shipping it by holiday season for a studio that hadn't worked on a Little Big Planet game before, it was just like every part of that was like such a disaster, and it single-handedly killed the Little Big Planet community. Like people, like the community like fully like denounced 3. Like there are still like some people that are still making levels for Little Big Planet 2 all these years later, but like it decimated the fan base, and there were a lot of people who just like never went back. And I feel like Little Big Planet deserved better, and I feel like it could have been a franchise that like could have like still been going like really strong. I know like they released the Sackboy: A Big Adventure game recently, but like I like that game. I like the story mode of that game, but there's no level creation. Like it's not Little Big Planet anymore.
Mhm.
Like it's a fun platformer with a good story, but like it's not Little Big Planet. And like really the core thing that made Little Big Planet like Little Big Planet was the level creation and the community, and they just really like destroyed their own fan base with 3. And so yeah, that's my TED talk about why Little Big Planet 3 should have been delayed. And basically, thank you for being my therapist and listening to all of my trauma about Little Big Planet 3. I appreciate y'all.
I'm yelling. So the thing that I'm wondering about that is like, did they not have enough games to launch it with? Like, why did it have to be that holiday season? Because it's not uncommon for a game like a year into the console's existence to still come out for like both platforms, like PS3 and PS4. Because obviously we still see this all the time, like with the PS4 and PS5 games. So like, why?
Yeah, I just think there was like so much pressure to like have launch titles for PS4 around holiday season so that people would buy PS4s for the holiday season, and I think like they were banking on Little Big Planet 3 like being the one to like make people buy a PS4 for holiday season, and it just like
Well,
was a disaster on every level. Like when you could actually play the game was good.
right.
The issue was being able to actually play the game, one, and play it with friends, two.
Mhm.
A mess.
Just a mess. Just,
Well, Dex, it's your turn to have a
your turn in
micro
group therapy.
session.
I am on the boat of that. I wish Final Fantasy 15 was delayed like 50 billion years because although I enjoyed playing the game, just the story, Mama, there was nothing there.
It deserved better. It honestly, it could have been a lot better had they had more time to like work on it.
Yeah. And I feel like the reason why you said it was like they just wanted to get it out there so they could make the money. It sounds like it probably is the case for like Square Enix and how long they've been working on that game. It's just like I don't know who I was with, but we were watching like the early Final Fantasy like Versus 13 trailers that they had that are just still up on YouTube. And I'm like, Mama, this would have been so cool. And then we get Final Fantasy 15, you look at it and I'm like, oh, there's really nothing going on. So I was like sad about that because like I didn't buy it at release date. I bought it like at Black Friday, like a year or two after it came out, and I was like so excited for it, and I did have fun, but it's definitely one of those things where like the story just like could have just been so much more, and there could have been so much more going on, and to have all the story elements not split between a movie, an anime, and a game, that would have been nice. But also, as a girly that's played Fallout, you already know, but that's the games always should. If it has a delay date, they should delay it 2 years. That is dead ass serious. They really need to start delaying their game.
They need to start like overestimating release dates.
That's the world in general, honestly. Yeah. Overestimate your release dates. Surprise bitches being like, surprise, it's coming earlier because we're finished. We don't know what else to do. Like, give us that. But like, there's just something about Fallout because I got into Fallout 4 really late. Fallout 4 was my first Fallout game, and it's another game where I really loved it. I had the most fun with it, but still, like, I can admit and definitely agree that the story was not really there. Like, the beginning I felt it was pretty strong, and then just after a bit, it just kind of stagnates, and then the ending, you're just like, what the fuck just happened? But, and then there, like, wasn't too much freedom apart from, like, a certain few other things. But I remember after playing Fallout 4, I was like, I want another Fallout game that's going to be even better. And, what was it? It was like an event. I don't think it was E3 because I felt like it was earlier in the year. It was like in like spring. They announced Fallout 76. Oh. And I was like, ooh, this is so pretty. It looks so good. I'm so excited for it. And then they said the release date, and they were like, November of this year. And I was like, Mama, 6 months for a Bethesda game? Something's up. And they didn't show anything. It was kind of like the same thing as Saints Row. They didn't show much. They just showed pretty scenery, like pretty like fall scenery, and I think it's I'm almost saying New Virginia. But I was just like, okay. And then the game came out, and there were just so many things wrong with it, as usual for Bethesda games. It's like, just in general, the core thing, like, it should have had a story, because it didn't have story, it didn't have NPCs. It was literally just you were on your own against other people in the world. And I just thought that was disgusting right off the bat. But not only just, like, there was emptiness when you play the game, the amount of glitches, girl, ooh, it was the worst I've ever seen from a Bethesda game that I've, like, witnessed live at launch. Like, you got those T-posing ghouls, like, flying across the damn map. You're, like, falling through the world. Shit's blowing up for no reason. It was a mess. And it really needed to be delayed, like, 3 years. Like, it was so bad. And I just don't know what Bethesda thinks when they're in the little office room being like, okay, when do we think this game should come out? And then, like, the Bethesda CEO is like, tomorrow. And thinks it's okay. So, Bethesda, y'all gotta, like, overestimate. Girl, y'all gotta say, okay, this game's gonna come out in 50 years. And then go from there. Because this is a mess.
Right. They need someone to, like, the manager of the project is like, I think we can get it done in 6 months, and then the marketing team is like, okay, so in 2 years, got it.
Right.
Perfect. I do feel bad for the PR teams in a lot of those cases, and the teams themselves, obviously, because they're like, you just know for a fact that before the manager cleared a release date, they asked people and they were like, I don't know, girl, we need a little bit of time. You can do it. With a little crunch and munch, you can do it. Mm-hmm. And, like, none of those people were listened to. I feel like I should actually use an example for a Sonic game, because this didn't really kill the franchise. Because Sonic is, I feel like at this point, it's like a fucking zombie. Like, it's gonna be like the cockroach of the apocalypse. Like,
not the cockroach.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could release, like, the worst games ever created, and the franchise still has this, like, power somehow behind it. But picture it. It's the 2000s. Some of you weren't born, so you don't remember. But anyway, just kidding. Like, just people. Mm-hmm. No, but if you weren't born in the 2000s and you're listening to this, turn it off. We're not appropriate for kids.
There are adults that were born in the 2000s, though.
I know.
Adults that are old enough to drink in the US.
I know.
That were born in the 2000s.
Adults that are old enough to drink in Europe. Anyways. So picture this: Sonic Adventure, huge game, huge release, changed the world. Sonic Adventure 2 continued changing the world. And then people were like, oh my god, Sonic Adventure 3 would be so good. And Sega was like, wouldn't it? I know, right? It would be so good if we had a game that would come out on our next generation consoles for PS3 and for Xbox 360. It would be so wonderful, wouldn't it? And everyone was like, yeah, bitch. And they were like, well, it's also like a very special anniversary, so obviously the game has to come out in that year, right? And everyone was like, I mean, no, like, it doesn't have to, but that would be great. And they were like, okay, lovely. We're going to rush everything because it needs to come out in 2006. From the year, some of you can probably tell, it's Sonic 06 that I'm talking about. I've never even played it. I've only seen footage of it. And I feel like probably one day I'll play it, because I feel like at this point it's camp. And I feel like I'm going to have to rip that Band-Aid off at some point and just experience it for myself. However, it killed the concept of, like, you know, Sonic Adventure 2, you played as all these different characters. The narrative, you know, featured different castmates and stuff like that. So it was always lovely because you got to see, you know, Tails, and you got to see Knuckles, and in, you know, Shadow, Rouge, etc. And then the game obviously, you know, didn't do well critically. And Team Sega, or Team Sonic Team, whatever, they were like, okay, so we can't have you play as different characters. We need to focus on Sonic, because obviously what went wrong here was us, you know, coming up with a story for Silver and coming up with a story for all these characters. It's like, no, that's not what was wrong with the story. First of all, what was wrong? One thing that was very wrong with the story was you trying to get Sonic to date a lady, a woman, a human being. Excuse me, no, like do not do that. So that was a lot of things were wrong there, but yeah, it just sucks when there's anniversaries, there's release dates, and obviously console launches, and obviously we're not even getting started with a lot of those like movie tie-ins and stuff like that, where it's like, oh yeah, here's like $10 and you have 2 months to develop this game because the movie is coming out in 2 months, so have fun. Like it's wild. It's wild. Has there been a game where you felt like it was worth the wait after delays, or not even delays? Sometimes it's just like you have to wait between obviously delays, but we don't know about them. But yeah, has there been a game that you waited a long time for that you were like, you know what, this was worth it, this was everything, this was great, I'm so glad that I waited this long?
Y'all are gonna get so sick of me talking about Animal Crossing.
Oh, wow. Oh my god, we're out of time. Can you believe it? Oh my god, we have to go. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh wow.
Okay, but the thing was, between Animal Crossing New Leaf and Animal Crossing New Horizons was like a 7-year gap, I think. And in between that, there's, Amiibo Festival, which we don't really talk about.
We don't need to talk about that.
Let's forget that happened. that wasn't real. That was a dream.
Please.
But like, yeah, it was frustrating having to wait for that long for a new Animal Crossing game, because like New Leaf was the first game that I played in the franchise and I loved it, and I do however think that like New Horizons like blew all my expectations out of the water and then some. Like, yeah, like I definitely don't want to wait 7 years for the next Animal Crossing game, but that's one where I can look at it and be like, yeah, that was worth it.
Right. Well, it's funny because I asked that, but I haven't really thought of a game myself that I would say was worth the wait necessarily. So we love that for me. Every game that I've ever waited for apparently has been bullshit. Love that for me. Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of games that I played growing up were necessarily games that like I didn't know when they came out. You know what I mean? Like a lot of those I got them so late, within like after they came out or whatever. To the point where a lot of my PS2 games that I have, a lot of them have that platinum case where like after they sold a few copies, like it wasn't like, it had a generic CD. It didn't have like the little art on the CD or anything. But, to be fair, for someone who my parents weren't buying me all the games, when they saw that, they were like, okay, this is a good game because it sold well. So, well, they were probably not the ones thinking that. It was probably me and my brother being like, oh, this game sold well. That's why it says platinum, because it sold a lot of copies. And they were like, okay, sure, whatever. Is it cheap? Okay, work. It's probably the reasoning behind that. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't really think of like any game like personally that I had been looking forward to for a while, that when it came out, I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is everything. It was totally worth the wait. I'm so glad I waited so long for this. Or, yeah, I can't really think of anything. I'll try to think of something. I don't know if you have any, Dex.
It's complicated because I think the only time I've ever been excited for a game, got a game at launch, and been ecstatic over it, I wouldn't consider that I waited for it because I never played one before. I never played a game of that franchise before, but like when Xenoblade Chronicles X came out, I remember, not when it was announced, I just remember seeing it somewhere, sometime, and I was like, ooh, I really want this game. So then I was like, hyped for months, and then I got it, and it was iconic. But I've never like already been in a franchise and experienced new game releases like ever, and it'd be good.
Yeah, because I've definitely. Well, I don't even know if it got delayed or anything, but I remember Fire Emblem Three Houses was my first like official Fire Emblem game because I had experienced a little bit of like a couple of the GBA ones, but when I saw it getting announced for the Switch, I was like, "Oh, this is perfect! I'm so excited!" And it was actually worth. I wouldn't say necessarily the wait, but it was worth the hype, I guess. I was like, "Oh, this is great! I love it! Iconic, legendary." I'm still, personally attacked and hurt by the fact that you can't be as gay as you want. I really wanted to be gay with Claude, and I couldn't, and I still can't, and I cry about it every night. So thanks a lot. Thank you,
Well.
Nintendo, for ruining my life. Well, we can talk about games that are we're currently waiting on them. They're currently either delayed or we're waiting on them. Immediately, Bayonetta comes to mind. I haven't played Bayonetta 2, but Bayonetta 3 I want her. She needs to come home already. And that one I'm kind of worried about because I'm like, where is she? Like, we got an announcement and then we got gameplay. Everything looked good, and then we're just like, okay, where is she? When is she coming? I need to plan out my marathon. Look, as we wait for the new one, I need to plan my marathon accordingly. So yeah, that immediately comes to mind. To me, the Bayonetta one. I'm very much looking forward to Bayonetta 3. I'm excited for the new Sonic game. I really hope that they learned their lesson and the game is actually really good. It is kind of worrying that we barely saw anything for both of the trailers, but it's not like they said the game is coming out like this year or whatever, right? So, we'll see. Let me actually look that up. I don't know.
I don't think they said this year. I don't think they said any year.
I don't think they did.
Not 2013, 2023.
Oh, no, they did say 2022, apparently. Okay.
Oh, well, girl.
They didn't say when, so it's probably going to get delayed. It's fine. Everyone, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Nobody worry. I'm not worried. You shouldn't be either. I have a panic attack on stream. Don't worry about it. What else? What else do we got? Oh, Final Fantasy 16. I have high hopes because obviously the man who saved 14 is responsible for it, so maybe he can save the main franchise too. We're not putting a lot of responsibility on this man's shoulders at all. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hopefully Mr. Yoshi P is gonna fix Final Fantasy, please and thank you. I think. Oh yeah, Tomb Raider as well. That's my final one. I'm gonna shut the fuck up now. Tomb Raider. Is it announced too early? Yes. Will I ever learn? Raider? No. Yeah, there's a new Tomb Raider coming.
Since when?
They announced it like a couple weeks ago, I think, when there was like an Unreal Engine 5 presentation. And yeah, Crystal Dynamics was like, hi, there's a new Tomb Raider coming. Okay, bye. We have nothing to tell you about it.
I remember that. I completely forgot about that. That's funny.
I'll tell you if it was worth the wait in like 10 years. Anyway.
Yeah.
What about y'all?
The big ones, I think that I'm currently waiting on right now. Definitely also Bayonetta 3. I will probably also play through 1 and 2 again before 3. I want to know when to do it.
Right? We need to plan our marathons accordingly, Nintendo.
So yeah, definitely that. Definitely Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, I know everybody's excited for Breath of the Wild 2, but I'm also excited for Breath of the Wild 2.
Dex is like, I don't know about everyone.
I don't know about
Who's
Maybe not
everyone.
everybody on this podcast, but
everyone
like
who's
everybody
played Breath of the Wild
generally.
1? Maybe?
Maybe so, maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my like big two that I'm just like
Pokemon?
definitely Pokemon. But like the thing about Pokemon though is I almost want them to like come out slower because I can't keep up. I'm like 2 games behind still.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited for Pokemon, but like let me catch up. I'm poor. I want to play all the games.
And I mean, would you say that the quick releases reflects in any way, shape, or form on the quality of the games?
Maybe so.
To be fair, it wasn't the same team working on Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but you know,
it was what it was.
yeah. Let's just say it seems that that separate team got the same amount of time to work on a Pokemon game as Game Freak usually does. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I almost want those to come out slower. Like, like yeah, I'm excited, but dang, just like give me a second.
No.
Sadly, they won't listen.
They won't because they care about money more than anything else.
Until, well, which is everyone, to be fair.
I mean, yeah, but like this is ridiculous. They're the only company I can think of that releases a game every year that's not like Call of Duty.
That's true. But to be fair, I haven't heard any drama about Call of Duty as far as like, oh, this game sucks ass. You know what I mean?
I mean, because they're all the same. So if they know their formula, then like they don't have to change anything. Like,
okay, let me present to you WWE games. It's the same game every year. Where did it go wrong?
Sports game players, there's something else. That's all you need to know.
Okay, don't even get me started on WWE.
I don't understand how they release the same game every year. Of course, you know, before everyone yells at me, I know that, you know, people change and like whatever, and like especially in teams and soccer and all these like whatever. But like, how do you make the same game and it it comes out wrong? Like what?
I don't know.
I could do like a whole podcast on WWE 2K20, and I might at some point.
You know what?
I just hijacked like a solo episode.
I mean, to be fair, a game that would have benefited from delays, right there.
Yeah.
So, I feel like they are at a lose-lose situation though with the WWE games because they delayed this like latest one, but then it comes out and people are like, "Well, the roster is outdated."
Yeah.
So it's like, well, shit.
I mean, you're never gonna have a WWE with like a perfect up-to-date roster because like it changes so much.
Right. Even especially in the yearly ones. Yeah. I remember with SmackDown versus Raw, even at the time, it was like, oh, that person isn't in that show anymore. Oh, they're over there now. Oh, whatever. So, yeah. Anyway, Dex, sorry. I just completely derailed us. What are you looking forward to? What games are you waiting for?
Saints Row.
Just Saints Row.
Just Saints Row.
Like that's it. Nothing else.
Well, it looks really good so far. From what? No, thank you. You're not working on it. Not thank you.
I was actually on the team. I was responsible for adding the chest size slider to male form.
You know what?
Find the bulge sliders.
I hope the game is good because I would be very happy that a game that is gender neutral character creation with so many choices. I would be very happy if a game like that does well. So give it to me. Hoping. So yeah, that's it, I guess.
Oh wow.
Delays. You know what? We could podcast longer today, but we're just gonna leave it for next week. You know, we're just gonna delay it for next week. No, I guess we should talk about what we've been playing. Dex. Unfortunately, not Saints Row.
Yeah. We got a couple months for that. What am I playing?
I don't know. I look at your photo right now, and I'm like, what have you been playing?
Listen. So I've resubscribed to 14. So I've been playing. Well, I've opened it like twice, but I've been like trying to play Final Fantasy 14 again. I've been doing dailies in Fortnite, trying to level up because I'm tired of fucking leveling up, but I want this shit in the battle pass. Since last time I've been here, I think I started playing Need for Speed Heat, and I'm glad I only bought it for $8 because I don't know if I'm ever gonna play it again.
Because that's the game that you tried to stream, but
yeah, I like.
Oh god!
I streamed it just for a bit, just for the funsies. I was like, let me like, because I was not gonna stream like a playthrough. I was just gonna be like, it was one of those games where it's like, I want to start it on stream to see what chaos happens, and then I'll play it on my own. And then I streamed that shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was tired. There's so much going on. And then like it very much reaffirms my hatred for cop mechanics in racing games. Like, I just want to race. I just want to be like flipping cars, crashing cars and shit in arcade style. And you can't like do that because like in the older Need for Speeds you could like spin out other cars by like ramming their sides. But other cars are indestructible. Like I will be like ramming at like 50 miles per hour, like 50 billion miles per hour to like the back of their car, and like they barely nudge. So it's like it's not even fun. The realism gone. So in the cop mechanic, just take it out. Like I just want a Need for Speed game without it. But I think literally every single one since Hot Pursuit or Most Wanted has literally always had a cop mechanic, and I just think Electric Chair to whatever company makes them. But yeah, those are the games I've been playing.
Yeah, you gotta love it when a company is like, oh, that game in particular did very well and it has this mechanic. Okay, let's run it to the ground and release a new game every year that has that.
And then they're like, they add on like more stuff. Like, I literally was like, my brain was hurting because like obviously the last ones I've fully played were like non-cop mechanic ones for PS2, and I just remember like looking up like upgrades, and it was like reinflatable tires in case there's spike strips, or like reinforced things because they're gonna be crashing you and all this shit. And I'm like, huh? Or like this like thing that just shuts down your car. Like I was like, what? It was too much. So I was like, girl, I'm gonna retire this game already. I'm so tired.
You know, self-care.
Mhm.
That's self-care. Knowing when to quit, which ties into my game that I've been playing. I just finished ? Simpsons Hit and Run. Speaking of cop mechanics, Jesus Christ. So I made it all the way to the end, and then I rage quit because the last mission is awful. You're on. So basically, Simpsons Hit and Run, I guess, for if you're the one person watching this who hasn't played it or seen anything of it, it's essentially Simpsons GTA. So, you know, you get on the cars corresponding to your characters. Yes, you can play as Lisa, you can play as Bart, you can play as Homer, you can play as Marge. You can even play as Apu at some point, which, you know, don't look forward to that one. That's the problematic chapter of the game, let's just say that. But the game in general was fine. Like a lot of the missions were like, you know, race this particular character or get to this point before them, or like break their car, or like there's a lot of different like cute little games or cute little mechanics that they had. And they decided to implement all of them for the last mission. So they gave you like this huge time crunch, this tiny timer, and you had to basically do like a fetch quest with this super fragile item. And like if you hit your car too hard against something, that item explodes, and then you have to go back to get it again, and then it's a whole thing. It's too much, too much. And then, yeah, the cop mechanics. So if you run someone over, if you break things and all of that stuff, there's a cop meter that fills up. And then the cops are fucking ruthless, especially towards the end of the game. And it's hateful. It's hateful. And in an act of self-care, I closed the game and watched the final cutscene on YouTube. And that's what I have to say about Simpsons Hit and Run.
That last mission, the cops were so literally jumping over, like getting air and landing on top of your car to arrest you.
The AIs themselves, like they were driving just fine in front of me. They see me, they literally ram into me for no reason. Like that was not where the road was. Like you didn't need to do that. You didn't need to do that. No, it was too much, and you had to do it 3 times in 3 different cars. Like no. Absolutely not. I did it 2 times out of the 3. And the last one, you know what? YouTube is right there. And thank you so much to people who upload their long plays. Anyway, that's what I've been up to. Speen.
I stayed up way too late last night finishing Endwalker. I didn't realize that I was that close to the end of Endwalker.
Oh my god.
But I just marathoned it. I was like, oh, like around like 1 a.m. I was like, oh, we're getting close to the end. And then by like 3 or 4 a.m. I finally finished. And
how you feel?
Okay.
the pause.
I don't know how to explain this in a way that is going to make sense, but the story of this game has literally changed my life, and I'm not being hyperbolic.
I love that.
All right.
Like, okay. So if you know me, you know recently, like, we've been diagnosed as a DID system. We're finding out about like a lot of trauma in our past. And I'm going to have to explain the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV to my therapist in my next session, and I don't know how to do that. Because this arc of the story literally helped me start processing my trauma. Like the whole like themes of the story about how like about overcoming despair, and like the story is literally like a metaphor for processing trauma, and it's improved my life and impacted my healing journey. Like,
oh my god,
I know that like everybody who tries to get people to play 14 is like, the story's so good, the story's so good. No, like the story of this video game has impacted my life more than a story of a video game ever has before in my life. So yeah, I laughed, I cried, just there's so much. I don't want to spoil anything. I cannot recommend this game enough. I know MMORPGs are like a time investment. I know not everybody can play it, but like if you're thinking about it, just do it. Like I cannot recommend this game enough. I'm so excited to get into 6.1 too. I'm happy to kind of be like caught up with everybody for like the first time.
Iconic.
But yeah, like I don't want to spoil things, is the thing. Like, I want to get more specific, but I don't want to spoil things. But like this story has literally like impacted my life for the better.
Maybe we have a Just Gaming Tingz after dark.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we could set up an episode for all the Final Fantasy XIV girlies, probably including guests. Where it's like a spoiler cast kind of moment, and y'all get to go all the way off and talk about it unfiltered, because people won't click on it if they don't want spoilers.
Right.
So yeah, I'm so glad
Let's
to
do
hear
it.
that. Oh my god, I was expecting like you to be like, you know, I've been hyper focusing on 14 now, and it's been lovely. And then it goes from yeah, I've been playing it a lot lately to I'm done with the story basically. And I love that for you. I love that.
So yeah, any tips on how to bring this up to my therapist in a way that's gonna make sense? Because I don't want to spend my entire therapy session explaining like years and years of story.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
good luck with that.
I say go for it. Just be like, oh, you know, of the critically acclaimed MMORPG where you can play the free trial that goes up to the
I get her into the
award-winning
game.
Twitch.
You show her like a supercut video or something, like someone explaining the story, like a 40-minute video or something.
Oh my god.
Oh, please get her to play it.
Not that.
like you experience it so you can see what I would do.
I invite my therapist to our FC.
Please.
I'm screaming. I can't with y'all.
That's the energy I need.
Well, thank you for watching and listening to this podcast. Hasn't it been lovely? Thank you so much. Well, if you want to change your life for the better, follow us, subscribe to us, listen to us more often. Why not? We're every week here doing our thing, y'all. And when we're not here, where can people find us, Dex?
You can find me existing at DexisMS on Twitter, and then on YouTube and Twitch at Dextralicious.
Iconic. You can find me at Project Ruby on Twitter, on Ko-Fi, on YouTube, on Twitch, The Project Ruby on Instagram, and TikTok. Yeah, just a lot of clownery, chaos, shenanigans. I'll probably get back to my Final Fantasy Challenge marathon situation soon, so look forward to that. Hopefully not many deaths in the near future, or maybe yes, for your own sake of content, I guess.
Yeah.
Content. What about you, Spin? Where can people find you?
You can find us on Twitch, Twitter, and Ko-Fi, all at Spinblend. And you can also find our soap shop at spinsoapcafe.com. We make soap that's inspired by coffee.
Yeah. Legendary, iconic in every way. All of our other hosts that obviously aren't on this episode, you can also find their links in the description for this video or podcast episode. However you're watching or listening to this, we appreciate you so much. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.